Father, as this commission begins a new year, Father, we just pray that you will be with each one of them and the decisions that must be made in behalf of our county and our city. Father, we pray that you give them discernment and understanding of the many times complex problems that they have to deal with, that they can use good judgment in the things that they need to settle and figure out. Father, at this time, we'd like to say a special thought, prayer for those who are in California, the devastation that they are facing today, the loss of their homes, their businesses, their jobs, and many lives that have been lost and affected by that. Father, may the country feel a great compassion for them and do what we can to help them, and whether it be through the Red Cross or different services, may we do our part to help our fellow brothers and sisters. We're thankful for this community that we have here that is a very loving and giving community, has concern for their government and for their people. We just ask that you be with us. We pray that we will live lives that are acceptable in your sight. We realize that we do fall short and we are sinners, Father, and we ask you to forgive us of our sins. Guide us and direct us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Pat. I'd like to welcome Commissioners T.C. Cook and Mike Keith to their first official meeting. Although they, to their credit, they have attended. Mike, you've gone back a year plus.
Yeah, year and a half or so.
And TC, you've attended several as well. So
it's a little different setting up here right now. So.
A little different back here. Yeah, I know. When someone taps you and says, "Hey, Nate," everything you're saying is going right through that thing. So we do think you're off the record. So, but no, it's great to have you. Great to have you here. So we'll jump right in on the annual Drainage Board appointment. Historically, what we have done on these different boards when we elect the officers is we just keep them consistent throughout. That makes the auditor's job a lot easier as far as who she needs signatures from and where. So the first board we have is the annual Drainage Board. Fortunately, in Daviess County, we have never had many drainage issues because of the lay of the land, so to speak. But if there are drainage issues, the three commissioners are the three that serve on those boards. So I'll open it up for discussion as far as the election of officers. Any thoughts, any comments?
Nope, I'd make a motion.
So as far as president, vice president, and secretary, who do we want for that?
You're talking about for us?
For the commissioners.
He's talking about the drainage board right now, but
yeah.
Typically he's saying that it carries forward for.
Yeah, I would just keep it the same as what we would have here.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Specifically, you need to
So president,
call the drainage board to order.
Each one, or we do it all together?
Yeah, let me pause for a second. This is the most confusing meeting of the year because we have meetings within meetings. So thanks, Jen, for that. It's only my 11th time doing this. So I would like to call the drainage board meeting to order. So now we're in the drainage board meeting. All right, so and we're going to get out of it here in a minute. The item on the agenda is election of officers, president, vice president, secretary. So I'd entertain any discussion or motion for those offices.
I'd make a motion to have president be Nathan Gabhart, vice president Mike Keith, and secretary T.C. Cook.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion, we got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. I'd be glad to do that. I would highly suggest that next year we do the rotation of offices like the council does. Being president's been great, but I think it's time to kind of slide it around a little bit. So, and obviously next January we can have whatever discussions we need then. But my expectation is come next January we'll rotate those around, and it'd be great for everyone to get different perspectives. So. So the motion carries. Any other items on the annual drainage board? Concerns? None. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the drainage board meeting.
Second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Commissioner Keith. Second
I'll second
by
that, yeah.
Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. Okay, next up, we got the annual Board of Finance meeting. I will officially call the Board of Finance to order. The 3 commissioners serve on the Board of Finance. First off, selection of officers. I'd entertain a motion for the election of officers.
Make a motion, we just keep it the same as the drainage board?
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Keith for Nathan President, Mike Vice President, TC Secretary. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by TC Cook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. Next up, we got Jamie Chapman, who's from the Treasurer's Office, to give us our report. Morning, Jamie.
Good morning. Good morning.
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 Good to see you, new commissioners. Congratulations.
Thank you.
During the 2024 investments were offered to all financial institutions here in Daviess County, public depositories by the state, and the highest bids were from First Federal and Springs Valley. This year and last year, I look like a good person with the interest. I mean, we've got 3 million this year, and last year it was 2. So the rates are coming down. They're under 5 now, and we was earning 5 on all the CDs. And our regular checkings at German American, along with the account at First Financial. And in your packet, I think it shows the breakdown of that 3 million. And the policy has not changed since Elaine was in office, and you have a copy of that in your packet too as well. So we're looking forward to another good year. I don't think it'll be quite as good, but it could change. Any questions?
So basically, these are just the tax revenues that we have on hand that you invest, gain interest, and then that interest is then swept into the general fund of some sort.
Or the individual for the highway yes.
So it goes back into their individual
Yes.
bucket.
And then I'm bidding out one this week for the assessor's office.
Okay.
And recorder's office usually keeps their interest and uses it to, maintain things in their office too, so.
Yeah.
But basically, the face value of they
Yeah.
go ahead and reinvest it.
So when I first saw this, when I was like newly elected, I was wondering what this was. So, because we call it a float in the private sector, but in the public sector, from my understanding, we don't control when we receive the tax revenues. I think twice a year is when we receive the property tax allotment, so we receive that chunk, and then we just spend it throughout the year. So it's theoretically, we receive it as we need it, that way it stays in the taxpayer's pocket longer, but just the way the tax payment system works, we're not gaming the system, so to speak, but we're taking advantage of it by creating some dollars from those, so. All right, Jamie, anything else for us?
As I leave, I do have the last 10 years of interest on this, if you want to look at it. It's kind of interesting, but like I said.
That clearly show what a great job you're doing as treasurer.
Well, that's why I said it makes me look better with the rates, yeah.
I'm teasing. One, you are doing a great job, and
Well, I
two,
appreciate
the
it.
rates do
Appreciate it.
determine it, yeah.
Okay.
Awesome,
Is
thank
that
you.
it?
Thanks, Jamie.
Okay, thank you guys for your time.
Excellent. Anything else for the Board of Finance Commissioners?
I don't think so.
At
Okay.
this moment.
If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the Board of Finance meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by TC. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Yeah, quite a,
That's significant.
quite a change.
Yeah.
Okay, next up now, we put your commissioner's hat back on. You guys wear a lot of hats. So we'll reconvene I did recess the Board of Commissioners meeting earlier. I just forgot to say that. I'll go ahead and re-adjourn the Board of Commissioners meeting. We'll start off with the election of officers for the commissioners. I might entertain a motion for the election of the board officers.
I'll make a motion as Nathan as president, myself as vice president, and Tracy as treasurer.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Keith. Any discussion? If not, I'd entertain a second.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Everyone should have received an annual conflict of interest forms. Basically, just if there's any vendors that you guys knowingly deal with on the personal side that we interact with on the government side, it's just your opportunity to disclose those to ensure that there's no conflicts there. So if you wouldn't mind, we can take some time at the end of the meeting to review that, ask Grant any questions, then go ahead and sign, and we'll get those back to Jen today. Contact information sheets. This lets the auditor know how you want to be contacted. Like me, I prefer my cell phone just to be given out. There's been some elected officials who don't want their cell phone to be given out, so, and when I say I give out my cell phone, it's actually Chris's, that I give out, but, so, put on there how you want to get contacted, because someone will call you and say, hey, how you get hold of Gabhart and whatever, and so I'm assuming you guys don't care if your cell phones are released, but this is how you officially decide. Right, there's that. All right, next up's our annual appointments. So the commissioners appoint, hire, so to speak. Well, not so to speak, we do hire these folks. We call them annual appointments, but the county attorney, the IT director, courthouse maintenance supervisor, veterans officer, highway supervisor, and weights and measures. These are also all the folks that we do the mid-year reviews on throughout the year. So each January, we have to, rehire them, so to speak. We just call it reappointments. So are there any discussions or concerns with any of the appointments?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
The only thing I might mention is just on the county attorney part is we have a flat fee, right? And then there's extra billing that can take place if it goes over the certain allotted amount. My biggest thing is I don't like unknowns. There's many of them in the world, right? But I don't like unknowns. So I just want to make sure that, like, if I'm in contact with Grant or something and we're working on something that I know, hey, this is the allotted time. This is, hey, we're going over. I'm going to have to charge extra, that type of thing, so I know where we're at. I just don't want to get hit with something. I'm not saying he does this. I'm just saying anybody in the future, too. I just want to make sure on that.
Typically, so the contract, the standard contract had been where a lot of things were billed maybe 5 years ago, and that had been that way for a long time. We changed it to where the base was higher, but fewer things were billed. And if I am billing the county, I have to present that. You would have to approve the bill of anything additional. So there are a handful of things, like if it's a separate board, say the council, advisory plan commission, board of aviation, health department, that type of thing is more likely to be billable. If you just call me and we're talking about something, if it's not related to litigation, it's not going to be billable. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, at some point, I'd like to entertain, and I'm not saying this year, but I'd like to entertain maybe just a complete flat fee, right, at some point, to make sure that things are income, so we don't have an unknown, right? Again, I'm not saying this year necessarily. I'm just saying in the future we might look into something like that.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense. I mean, and that's what I really like about the theory of like term limits, because I mean, what happens is I've been here at 11 years now. Look at what we started with, and how much we've improved it and how the work we've done.
Right.
And then it takes those new perspectives and take that aspect and say, okay, now how can we make that better?
Right.
Where after working on it for a decade, you get a little tired, you think you've tweaked it enough, so, so good points, I think, throughout this year, if you have any particular comments, just reach directly out to Grant on any suggestions and so forth. And, as long as it's fair to Grant and to the county, I'm sure. we would
I see
all
what
be-
you're saying, that, then we know exactly what, there ain't no surprises like you
Right,
said.
right.
And I would actually I would prefer that as well. I mean, for the future, but it doesn't have to be right now.
Yeah.
Great, excellent. There's no further questions. I'd entertain a motion to approve the annual appointments.
So moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Keith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
A motion passes 3-0. All right, next up, we got the courthouse renovation update. Derek, good morning. We did have an on-site meeting last week at the courthouse, did a walkthrough, and kind of got down to the weeds a little bit, so appreciate that, and we wanted Derek to come and provide an update.
Morning, everybody. Appreciate you having me. Just a quick progress update. All 3 floors are in finish phases. 3rd floor started doing flooring prep. Ceiling tiles arrived yesterday. We had 2 truckloads of that. Light fixtures, those will start going in, and then pulling data cable on 3rd floor. So 3rd floor is moving along. 2nd floor, wrapping up paint, kind of in a holding pattern, and it's going to follow flooring once the 3rd floor is wrapped up. 1st floor, painting of the ceiling is going on. We met with RQAW about 2 weeks ago to mocked up one room, make sure the design intent was being met. Blair with RQAW made a decision and going full steam ahead. So got that out of the way. And then MEPs and mechanical, electrical, plumbing is moving on. 1st floor is the bulk of the work. A few things on the 3rd floor outside of the light fixtures get done. So that's really where we're at. It's crunch time, pushing everything to the finish line. It's always the most difficult part of a project, but we'll get there. As of right now, the substantial completion date remains April 17th. Anticipate a move-in of early summer. So that's our goal. As far as budget is concerned, nothing's changed on the budget. Soft cost, nothing has changed there. The construction contingency is now $197,000. Anticipate a few more changes over the next month, but we're in good shape there for where we're at in the project. So in a nutshell, we're doing pretty good right now. An issue that was brought up last month's meeting was the rooftop unit, the HVAC unit. It is rather large. RQAW is working on a solution to be presented to commissioners on how to help that blend in. I believe painting was the desired solution. I'm not sure if Lara spoke to you guys yet about that and what their plan is, but she said that she's working on a rendering. So once we get that to you guys and you guys make a decision, we can proceed on that and hopefully make it go away.
Well, I see there's some smaller units next to the bigger units.
Yes.
So are there anything else that's going up there?
No,
Okay.
that is the extent of the rooftop units, so we're
Nope,
good there.
We're not gonna see any more protrusions?
No,
Okay.
no, what you see is what you get there. so.
Okay. Well, again, it's new HVAC size for the entire courthouse, obviously. Even in hindsight, I would have been hard pressed to do 3 units, 1 for each floor, smaller, more expensive, just to minimize that sight line.
Right,
So,
right.
Lara did call me maybe a month or so ago with some possible options. My only suggestion to her is sometimes spending money to cover it up can make it worse, and then you're spending money to fix that fix. And so before we pull the trigger, we need to be certain that we're not going to redo what we.
Right,
what
right.
we
I think a
did.
rendering will help a ton in that regard.
Because at the end of the day, if that's the worst thing Daviess County constituents have to complain about, that means the council and
Sitting pretty good.
commissioners did a pretty good job. But it was a surprise to us, so yeah, we are looking at midsummer move-in. We'll be coordinating that with office furniture, with data and IT. That's all assuming nothing downstream happens that takes time and energy.
Correct.
Reached out to the department heads. They're still content in their current office space, so we're good there. Obviously, the sooner they move out, the better. But I think midsummer, we'll have be easier from a weather standpoint. Our work release folks and so forth, inmates will be available, and That will be good. Yeah, draw this thing to a close.
Any questions?
Good job.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I thought everything looked great over there. I'm sure now we're at that point, which I've not been involved in a project like this ever, but, some little things now, we're at that point where the smaller things is gonna kind of start coming up and,
Hiccups always happen.
Yeah.
We'll address those as those arise, but I don't want to jinx us, but I don't foresee any issues that are gonna really hurt us.
right.
I said I don't want to jinx us, but I think I just did. But the bigger issues that we had to overcome earlier in the project, pulling the skin off of a 100-year-old building, that was the biggest concern, and we've
Had no idea what she's gonna find.
nope. Yeah, that it.
No, doing a great job. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
We spoke this morning just briefly.
Yes.
And one of the things, I wanted to give you a compliment, one of the things he said was that this project has been fun, which I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that about a government project. And that says to me that it's going well. It's within budget, it's on time, and well done.
Appreciate that. It has been fun. It has had its challenges, but overall, those challenges, they've taught me a lot of things. Learning opportunities, I always find that fun. So I appreciate that, Grant. Commissioner Cook, more than welcome to stop by whenever, take a walk through. Goes for everybody up on the board, so.
So something that we had talked about in the past is that on-site inspections aren't subject to the open door law. We did have a standing time where, say after this meeting, if you gentlemen wanted to go over there and walk through, it's an on-site inspection. We don't have to advertise it, and it's more than acceptable for all three of you to be there, whatever the case may be. So I would encourage you to go over there and check it out.
I've been in
Yeah.
multiple times, yeah. It's kind of been fun to watch. There, I said the fun word again, but it's been kind of neat to watch it take shape, so.
Right. All right. Well, if
Sounds
nothing
great.
else, thank you very much for your time, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Eric. Okay, everyone should have received a copy of the December 23rd Board of Commissioner meeting minutes. If there is any questions, any changes, any revisions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Keith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Chris, good morning. How are you? Now it's time for the highway update. Chris and his team did an amazing job being out there, 5A to 7P or whatever the times were on the last Sunday and last weekend, and getting those roads opened up for everybody. So I did not receive one call from anyone complaining, and from my perspective, it looked like you guys did an amazing job. So thanks for going above and beyond and keeping everyone safe.
Well, thank you. And I'll give you a little brief update on that, but getting nervous now. Usually you guys get me in here and get me out. Now I gotta sit here for a while before I get up. It gives me a chance to get nervous. But yeah, we started last Sunday, and we've been working. I think we put pretty much 76, 80 hours a man into it, and we have 8 snow plows and 6 graders that we operate. We are down two plow trucks from last year that we had to put out of service because they're in the process of being replaced right now. So that hit us a little bit harder. But our snow plows are responsible for about 45 45 mile of hard surface road apiece, which equates to about 91.23 lane mile apiece, and our graders are responsible for 62 mile of road apiece, of gravel road, and so that's like 123 lane mile. I think we'd like to get it down to around the 20 to 30 mile apiece is what we would like to get it down to with priority. We use 2,193 ton of salt sand mix. Our old facility used to only carry 1,600 ton of product, So we would have technically, in our old facility, we would have ran out of salt sand to be able to treat this. With the new facility, we've got 3 bays, and each bay will handle 1,600 ton of material. So that was a good test for us. One thing we did do this year too is we changed our salt sand mixture. When I first started in, I think in 2010 or whatever, we were doing a 4-to-1 mix ratio, four buckets of salt to 1 bucket of sand. A couple years ago, we changed it in 2022, I guess when I came in, I changed it to a 3-to-1. And in this year with the new capacity, we changed it to a 2-to-1, which helped us. So uses a little bit more salt, but the results are better. I thought that, you know, we always talk about, if you talk about keeping up with the Joneses or whatever, we get phone calls and stuff about the county road, or why is the city streets clean, the county roads are not, and the state highways are clean. And it's all about, you know, how many hours they work. They work 24/7, both the city and the county, or the state. See, I told you I'm nervous. But, so we've been working 12, 14-hour shifts. We'll start at 5 a.m. and work till 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., but we typically don't go overnight. We had, during that event, we had 9 snowplows stuck in the ditch and 6 graders. That's stuff that we have to deal with. We don't have curbs and sidewalks in the county. We don't have 4-foot shoulders on the edge of our roads. And when I say stuck in the ditch, we had 0 damages, but it takes away from our overall production when we've got to go pull them vehicles out. So when you start putting that, if we start going overnight, then it's going to start multiplying that effect. And it's not that our guys drove into the ditch. It's just actually missing. There's no forgiveness on a county road. You got 1 foot of shoulder. You miss the county road just a little bit, and you're in a ditch. But I thought we kept up with them
Well, and
pretty
just to
good.
dovetail on that just a little bit, because I've always wondered, why don't we go 24/7 like everyone else does? And Chris explained it as differently than I had heard it in the past. And, you know, the width of the plow is
14 foot.
14 foot. Our roads, some of our roads, our narrower
16.
roads are 16. So just the width of that blade, if someone comes over the hill, and again, you can see headlights, but where do you, where do you go? Shouldn't be too many people out, but anyway, so you get yourself kind of bunched into these corners of concern. So they did start going out earlier, because I did really feel we need to get those roads opened up for the folks who had to get to work. We got to get people out as early as we can. So I did appreciate him getting trucks out around 5, but it made a little bit more sense on the county roads on why we don't do 24/7. Yet maybe we can work toward that in some capacity, but the safety's got to be there. So
Yeah, and I think with, we talked to you commissioners, maybe it'd be something we talk about this year. With some of our newer roads that we're making, we would probably have some major roads that we could keep open. Maybe the Candleberg Road. You know, there's a lot more room for error there. But then when you get into that, so I got 10 trucks and 10 truck drivers and 6 graders and 6 grader operators, and then I probably got about 6 other employees. So I wouldn't have the manpower to go 24/7 either. We would almost have to double our staff. To get the results that you've seen from this last storm, it took every piece of equipment I had and pretty much 95% of my manpower to do that. So I'm gonna do a report as requested by Commissioner Gabhart for the commissioners and for the council about how we work this system and what our salt sand building did for us, and what we would like to see happen. I think we could get a couple more ton trucks, I think would help us. So that was about it. Just kind of a brief summary on that. I gotta find my paper now. I did get an LPA voucher before I left today, so it's probably not on your guys' packet. The girls handed it to me. So it's for the 2023-26 countywide bridge inspection inventory program. I believe this invoice we had paid $1,289, with 80% reimbursable from the federal government at $1,031.20. So that's what we would be getting back. Pass this for signature.
Okay. All right, are any questions on the LPA claim voucher? The bridge inspections obviously is a mandatory thing we have to do. How many bridges do we have again?
126.
126 bridges, and so that's what this inspection covers. And just for our information, like culverts and so forth, the underground water structures, 1,000, 2,000, how many of those do we have?
I think like 2,100.
2,100 things
Yeah.
under the road that we also have to replace when we redo those roads. So I think it's just important for the public to know some of that stuff. I didn't know some of that stuff, on why it's so expensive to fix roads. But currently, we have before us the LPA claim voucher for the countywide bridge inspection in the amount of $1,321.20. If there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion made by, and it's single signature as well. Motion made by Commissioner Keith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes 3-0.
And I forgot, it was 2,800 culverts and 120 small structures, not counting the 126 bridges. And that's not counting for snow removal, I think we've got like 16 I-69 overpasses or something like that we've got to do. So, I guess just an update on some of the projects. Next week, we'll be opening bids for the CCMG 2024-2 that we are awarded. And then I talked to commissioners about some roads or something. I'm gonna apply by the end of this month for the 2025-1 CCMG grant, which is again a $1.5 million grant opportunity for us. And then bridge number 95 and the guardrails on 1200 East over West Boggs, there'll be a presentation to NDOT and their scoring committee tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the county highway. It's going to be a Teams meeting. So I've got to do a presentation to, didn't get awarded, but we got selected to present our project to them to see if they're going to fund it or not. And that's kind of two projects, all their federal projects that are 5 years out. And then the 28th at 10 a.m., Bridge 14, which is on Old 50. I've got a pre-con meeting with them. That was an award or grant that we was awarded earlier in the year, last year, I guess now. But I got a pre-construction meeting with them on that. The Odin West Street project grant, do you have that interlocal agreement?
It's agreed to, but they haven't sent it over signed yet.
Okay, I seen it signed, so
Okay.
somebody must have sent it to me, and I told the commissioner I was gonna print it off and bring it to them for their signatures.
Okay.
So the Odin West Street agreement, which was the county contributing to their project up to $750,000, I think. They finally got the interlocal agreement so they could start issuing invoices and the county could start paying the percentage that they agreed to. So they've got it and they signed it. Somebody had sent it to me. I seen it in an email. So we need to bring it to the council and get your guys' signature, and then we could start, or Jen and her team could start processing payment to them on that. And I think that's all I've got, unless anybody's got any questions.
It sounds good. Sounds good. These aren't extremely exciting projects, so to speak, but extremely important. And I think getting that bridge down Highway 50 and the causeway upgraded is, I think they're great projects. So excited to see how the meeting goes tomorrow. I know some councilmen, commissioners, and sheriff's department and so forth will be there. And then also next week, we're on the 28th over at NDOT for that meeting,
Yeah.
so.
We've got a lot of projects going on. We had, we did the Campbellburg Road for so long, it was just kind of one project, and we just kind of rode that out. And now that it's gone, I mean, I think I've got five or six projects with NDOT and the federal government, and they kind of get a little intertwined a little bit and confusing, but
You're doing a great job. Thank you.
thank you.
Two things, just because we've got new commissioners. The 700 East project, Mike Costello, I know that he's been down recently. That's an instance where it was mined and some of the folks complained about it being passable. We've been dealing with that, and we think we have a way to get the problem addressed at this point. Fairly recently, in the last couple months, the gentleman that's supposed to be in charge of it visited the site. Is that right?
Yes, I talked to him last week even again.
Good.
He's works for the surety company that holds the bond on the property, and he's the guy that works with the surety and works with the DNR about reclaiming that land and putting it back and getting the county road rebuilt with the funds that they have. So they were working at I think it was Shamrock Mine in DuBois County, and they've got that pretty much finished up. So now they're wanting to start working on the Billings Mine, which is 700 East, south of Old 50. But yeah, he's been in contact with me, and I believe Grant also.
Yeah.
So hopefully he'll come and do an update here with you guys anytime.
And a similar question, 200 North, we think we're on track relative to 200 North still. Is that?
The last meeting, I know Nathan has a lot to deal with them guys. They changed presidents now, but we had a meeting with them
Is that Kevin Houston?
2 months ago, I believe.
Well, just when Ed and Matt were here, December 2022, and we approved this, I said, now you two have to stick around.
Yeah,
And
They didn't do it.
they're both gone.
they fibbed, but they're both gone, so what do you do? What do you do? So they needed a coal mine, they needed to mine through that, the landowner sold their land, so we did it. So July's when it's supposed to be reopened, right now, everything seems to be going according to plan, but like anything, one issue could cause a change of plans. So as of
How often do you get an update from the mine, how they're,
quarterly, we have update
Okay.
meetings at the highway department, so I think one's coming up in the next month or so.
so I remember, I think I attended one of them there.
Yeah, so quarterly is what we have set up, so, yeah. See how,
Okay, I think that's all I've got.
All right, thanks, Chris.
great, thanks, Chris. All right. Okay, next up, we got the commissioner appointments. So this is back to my earlier comments about where we started to where we are. We've come a long way as far as the process on all these commissioner reappointment boards. One thing I would ask the new commissioners is that we got to figure out a mechanism on how do we get the word out about these boards to the public so that those who would be interested can serve, because otherwise we just tell people that we know, because we're not going to stop random strangers on the street, right? So then they call it cronyism and fraternities or whatever they call it, but we got to figure out a better way of getting the information out to the public, because there's a lot of great people out there who want to serve. We just don't know who they are. So if you're listening today, you reach out to any of the commissioners. We're all easy to get a hold of if you're interested in serving. So with that being said, I did reach out to all the different appointments. So about every year, we go through this because somebody is up for renewal. So went through and called and got confirmation from everybody. I've given this list to Stephanie. I'll go down just through the changes, just for the sake of time. So On the APC Board, Advisory Planning Commission, T.C. Cook will be replacing Michael Taylor. And speak up if any of this is wrong, obviously. Bennington Levy Board, Mike Keith will be replacing Ron Arnold. Board of Zoning Appeals, Kathy Decker asked to go ahead and step off, so Jeremy Tooley will be taking her spot on the County BZA Board. We did show another vacancy on there for Darren Helms, however, Adam Robinson had taken his spot, so I filled that in. And then Bob McGuire will be taking Don Kelso's spot. Bob already serves on the BZA, but we just kind of moved him into another slot here. So he'll be starting a new 4-year term on the BZA board. One thing I did oversee is the Community Corrections Advisory Board. We currently had Travis Madison on there. He'd been gone for a while, so I assumed that had already been. So Kevin Frank, so that had already been replaced, so by Kevin Frank, Superintendent of Washington. The Economic Development Commission, this is not the corporation and not the foundation, but this is more related to the bonds that the county has outstanding. And we're going to plug Mike Keith into that spot for the Economic Development Commission. And then on the Hospital Association, which again is bond related, we're going to slide T.C. Cook into that spot. You guys may want to pay attention because I may have slid you into spots I didn't tell you about.
Paying attention.
So we'll see how well you're listening
We'll
here.
stop you, yeah.
The Indiana Department of Homeland Security, Mike Keith will be taking Ron Arnold's spot on that. Odin Winkelpleck Library, since they have a property tax there now, the county has an appointment there. So that the library suggested this lady, Anita Stuffle, will be the person taking that spot. Regional Mental Health Advisory Board will be T.C. Cook. The PETA BOA Board, I reached out to Crystal Osby regarding that board, and she and I agreed that Jeremy Tooley, who he's a landowner or a landlord, and has a high interest in this topic, so we thought it'd be good. It's good to get the folks that have a high interest around the table so they can see the complications of these easy decisions that people want us to make sometimes. So that's good. And then other than that, all the other people renewed their positions. So once we get these updated, then now next year, there are new people on here, so the contacts may be old, but eventually we'll get brand-new contacts. When someone does get appointed, there's a form that the auditor's office fills out that's critical, because calling some of these folks and getting wrong numbers and trying to track them down. Okay, that's extremely time-consuming, so with all that,
On the visitors board or whatever, the commission,
yes.
was that just Nathan Ream, or was that all 4 of our appointments on that one?
Nathan was the one that came due,
Are they, how long are they, 2, 4?
probably 4.
I can pull up the information. I think I've shared that spreadsheet with you that I have, but we just keep track of those and we present to you each year on who his
Right.
terms are up.
Okay,
I think almost all of these are 4-year terms.
okay.
There's some that are 1-year terms.
Some of these are?
Yeah,
Okay, well, I don't remember seeing the same ones every year.
it all depends on how the board was formed and how it's written in policy.
Yep. All right, but yeah, Jen can get you that answer to that, Mike, or TC. Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the commissioner appointments.
So moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Keith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Next up, we got the contract for legal services for Grant.
Same as it was in the last 4 years.
No changes in the last 4 years, is that, okay.
I think we changed, the commissioners changed this,
Years ago.
yeah, a handful of years ago. I know it was Commissioner Arnold, Commissioner Taylor during that tenure, so. If there is no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve, and this is a one-year agreement.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Keith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. All right, and every January, we got to publish the annual gross wage report. So that has been received by everybody, just to show all the wages for the county. And that will be publicly available too, if anyone wants to see it. So we'll just enter that into, or actually, we got to approve that. So are there any questions or concerns with the annual wage report? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Keith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. A motion passes 3-0. Okay. And Grant's got one item.
So, I promised one. So I mentioned to the council, there was some discussion at the council meeting relative to updates to the handbook. Just, we did that about 10 years ago, and there's interest in potentially doing that again. So we will keep that in front of you. It's ultimately commissioner decision, and then the council, as it relates to financial decisions, is also involved. But we just want everybody to be comfortable with that. Many of the issues that we had several years ago were addressed when we revised it, and if there are things that you think you want changed, now's a good time to do it. And I would like it to be done here in the next couple of months, just so that we can.
Yeah, one thing that we did discuss this morning, I maybe is how we're currently doing it, but when we close the courthouse and annex, which has only been very few times, so I mean, twice in my tenure that we've done this. And so when we do that and the highway department works, then my mindset is they get compensated in form of a personal time for the amount of time that they worked on that day, if that makes sense. Because if we closed all offices, they're off that day, get 8 hours of pay, and they work 0. So if they go work 12 hours, I just want to make sure they're not getting comped for 8 hours. So if we can look into that, because they do keep a time card. Because with the highway department, I really want to run them as long as we can during these emergencies. So if they are out, I don't want anyone working for free. And, right? I mean,
No, I agree.
no one
That's
wants to
correct.
do that. So if we can just clarify that in the policy, because I think they did do a 12-hour on one of the days that we shut down. So just want to make sure that they're duly. Other than that, sounds great. All right, anything from the audience? Commissioners?
It's like we about put him to sleep.
I know, we did, all these different boards, yeah. So, okay, if there's nothing else from anyone, I'd entertain a motion to approve payroll claims and to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Cook, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Keith, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes 3-0, meeting adjourned. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.